All right, let's get started. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm going to get started right now. Today we're going to talk about ITSM tool consolidation and how you can simplify ITSM with Atlassian Cloud. Particularly, we will look at the advantages of consolidating all of your tool set. I know you have a bunch of different tools to manage um, all of your ITSM requirements. So let's go ahead. So a bit about ServiceRocket before we proceed. We've been doing this for 20 over years already. We bring 20 years of experience to delivering tech-enabled services with a lot of firsts, a legacy of firsts. We were the first partner to sign a partnership agreement with Atlassian. We are also the first partner to deliver Atlassian training. So a bunch of really cool stuff that we did with Atlassian. So we were the original partners with Atlassian. So companies choose us, they turn to us again and again to solve their most pressing need. We help them accelerate their growth and reduce complexity. That's why we keep growing. So a bit about us as well. We truly are a global company. We are across all 5 continents and as many time zones, 10 offices worldwide. Many Rocketeers are Atlassian certified, at least 50 plus are certified professionals. And out of those 11 ACE experts, we have 250 plus dedicated Rocketeers across the globe. So we provide 24/7 customer support that follows the sun. So no matter where you are, you don't have to do it alone. As a Platinum Solution Partner, we also meet Atlassian's highest training criteria. We also meet the highest security standards. So you can see here PCI DSS certified, SOC 2 and Type 2 certified. Okay, and yeah, we are also cloud and ITSM specialized. That goes without saying. Our commitment is to be the single most reliable partner in the acceleration of your growth. We work with a lot of enterprise customers and also small, medium enterprises that are growing. So we help them grow by helping them achieve more with their toolset. So let's look at the agenda for today. We start off with streamline operations, how we can simplify your IT infrastructure to reduce tool sprawl and operational load. We'll also discuss other benefits such as license cost reduction that occurs naturally as a result of this. So you can imagine if you consolidate your tool set, instead of having, let's say, 20 different applications from 20 different vendors, by consolidating them with Atlassian, you can see that you can actually reduce a lot of your license costs, which I know would be the main benefit that a lot of you are seeking today. The other one is the seamless enhanced user experience. So creating a more seamless experience, especially if all of your tool set looks the same, have the same exact UI, is going to help in terms of usage, making their daily tasks a breeze. And it's also going to help them be more engaged with the platform. It doesn't require too much retraining. We'll look at all of the examples later. The other one is regarding efficient data reporting through dashboards and Atlassian Analytics, so that you don't have to look at multiple different locations to painstakingly pull in data or translate the data into your BI tools just to understand where you are right now. So having a consolidated data ITSM toolset is going to help you with that. And the benefits of consolidating IT tools, making data reporting as easier than ever before. And we will also answer some questions at the end. Feel free to put any questions that you may have. This is a very interactive session. So you have the Q&A session, the Q&A section in the Zoom controls. Feel free to click on that. And if you have any questions at any given time, feel free to put it in there. There will be some polls as well, some interactive questions throughout the webinar. So I am Foogie. A bit about me. I've been with ServiceRocket for 13 years already, and throughout the 13 years, I've been working on Atlassian products. So I started in Atlassian support, then I moved on in consulting. Something cool to know is ServiceRocket used to run Atlassian support back in the day. So back in the day, maybe about a couple of years ago, if you contacted Atlassian support, you will be speaking to a Rocketeer most often than not. And I love Atlassian products. So after Atlassian support, I moved to consulting, and now I move on to solution architecture. I'm trying to grow our UK and European business, with quite a bunch of us here already that are working in consulting. In my free time, I love everything outdoors, climbing, hiking, camping, cycling, all of that. Cool. All right, so let's start off with streamline operations. So before that, let's do a quick poll so that I understand where all of you are from. So what function do you represent today? Are you from engineering, DevOps, IT services management? I'm going to start the poll right now. Let me see if I can click that. Give me 1 second. All right. Feel free to answer on the poll in the Zoom controls. If you have trouble reaching that section, let me know. All right, thank you. 50% of you, that's the highest, as I predicted, from IT services management. So very cool. 33% of you are from enterprise services management. Very cool. Just so you know, we will talk about ESM a little bit today as well. And I will also there will also be a webinar on ESM next quarter regarding services for all, how you can use AI, automation to build a very seamless ESM experience for your customers through JSM. Your customers meaning to say usually the internal requesters. All right, very cool. Thanks for participating in the poll. I'm going to end that right now. Okay. So what tools and apps do you use? Feel free to use the Q&A as well. I'm curious to find out, are you using Jira right now? Do you have any other tools? Like, for example, you use ServiceNow together with Jira. A very common use case I see with my customers is they use a combination of tools. Sometimes they use ServiceNow as the IT platform, the ITSM platform, and then it communicates with the developers in Jira software. Sometimes I also see Monday.com, Asana, those kind of tools. And then for CRM, I see a lot of Salesforce, but some of you may also be using NetSuite. We are also a NetSuite consulting company as well. And then for messaging or conferencing, I'm sure some of you use Slack or some of you use Teams. So feel free to use the Q&A to answer. So this is, you will answer it as like a question, but just type in your answers as a question in the Q&A section. Yeah, and you don't have to do it right now. We will proceed with the rest of the webinar. And if you have any input, if you want to find out like if like how Jira integrates with some of these tools, feel free to put it in the Q&A. So a typical landscape that we see in any organization. Oh, I see BMC and ServiceNow. Oh, that's interesting. So BMC is a ideal tool as well. So both BMC and ServiceNow, they serve almost the same purpose. That's pretty cool having two of that together. Hopefully from today's presentation, I will convince you enough to see the power of JSM, and that will, give you some motivation to try it out, try a free trial, and then see whether that works better than your BMC or or ServiceNow stack right now. Okay, a typical landscape of the organization looks like this. So for human capital management and finance, you would use things like Workday, small improvements, NetSuite, Salesforce, those kind of stuff. And then for BI and analytics with Tableau, with Power BI, Looker. And for communications, you use Outlook and Microsoft Teams. For collaboration, you use Box or Confluence. And for IT ticketing, you use ServiceNow or JSM or BMC. Jira software for development. What we often find is a lot of our customers' development teams are on Jira software. That's the reason why they are curious about JSM in the first place. So we'll look at some examples of the integration that you can do. So how did we get here? How did we end up with organizations with a huge tool sprawl, like a bunch of different tools to accomplish ITSM? So the prevalence of SaaS subscription is one of the reasons why. So teams can now start a free trial of a new tool without complex setup or infrastructure requirements. In the past, whenever you want to try out a new tool, you kind of have to deploy it in a data center instance. You have to deploy it on-premise. You also have to go through some difficult IT policies, some difficult requests, change management, those kind of stuff. But right now, with SaaS, your users can literally start a free trial anywhere with just their personal email account or even their company email without going through any of that hurdles in the past. So for the admins, what this means is because requesters are often king, and I know a lot of you can speak on that. Your requesters are often king, and the decision usually comes bottom up, right? Your requesters, they tried something new, they love it, and they are requesting it from you guys, and they got all the budget approvals, and you have no choice but to implement it. The other reason for the tool sprawl is you have acquisitions and mergers. We recently helped a company that acquired 17 other companies. And from that 17 other companies, they brought along their baggage, right, of different tools. So these mergers resulted in all of these different tools, and it's usually difficult to convince the 17 companies to now move to a common platform in the new parent company. And this is because of the retraining required on all of the mergers, and also the loss of functionality that they may have to deal with, because every time you migrate to a different tool, there will be some loss of functionality. You have to deal with that. And also the resistance to change, especially if the team members are already familiar with a particular tool, they will be very unlikely to want to switch to a different tool. So the challenges of managing many different tools, it includes, for example, fragmented access. So certain information is stored in a system with very limited access, or on an interface or information architecture that is drastically different. So it's a context switch to get from one system to another. And as you can know, context switch is a very expensive experience. Imagine if you've been working on NetSuite for 30 minutes, and then now you have to switch to Jira, right? That experience it will take some time to get used to it, no matter how familiar you are with both tools, because the structure of the different tools are quite different. Like, what is a sandbox? For example, in Jira, a project is a sandbox, whereas in a different tool, a box is a sandbox. So who is ultimately responsible for managing the tool? We did a bunch of M&A exercise, including the one that I mentioned just now, the 17 companies. The transfer of ownership of existing tool set of the acquired entity to the parent company's admins is quite taxing. It's very difficult. Although the transfer of ownership is successful, usually the lack of experience from the new admins ultimately lead to finger pointing and lack of accountability. Usually when you transfer, let's say, a tool that from a company that you acquired to the admins in the parent company, usually the admins will still refer back to the old admins. So the old admins, despite them moving on to new roles, they will often be brought back to manage those tools again. So maintaining lots of custom integrations between all of these tools, one of the solution to tool sprawl is integration. But I will tell you that right now, with a lot of integration, these are usually custom integrations. We usually build it with REST API. And these are complex and clunky at best. There's one, for one of the customer, what we did was we built a Bamboo HR to Jira integration, which is great. Like, every time somebody leaves the company, when the termination date is entered for that employee in Bamboo HR, it automatically creates a JSM ticket. Very cool. It's just that every time there's a change in REST API between those two systems, which happens quite often, then you have to update the REST API scripts again. So clunky and complex and usually require additional consulting effort. So what we're proposing right now is you consolidate tools on one platform, and the Atlassian stack is ideal based on our experience in regards to ITSM requirements. So with Atlassian stack, what you get is you have Confluence for knowledge base, so you can deflect issues, especially if your users are asking questions that are already in your knowledge base. That's very easy to do on Jira Service Management. So you can try start a Jira Service Management and Confluence trial if you haven't already started when you're done with this webinar, and play around with it. It's very easy. You just have to create a new JSM template, the JSM template project, and then you create a Confluence knowledge base space, and the whole thing, I think it takes you 10-minute stops to set that up, and then you can see how issue deflection works. Pretty cool. And then with the acquisition of Insight that Atlassian did, assets for JSM is now bundled with JSM Premium and Enterprise. And what this gives you is the ability to have CMDB configuration items in JSM. And then you can have services, alerts, and on-call schedules. So you can also integrate Ops Genie. This is also another acquisition. So Ops Genie also comes with JSM Premium and Enterprise. And what this does is it can integrate with your alerts monitoring tool, like for example, New Relic, those kind of stuff. So whenever a system goes down, it triggers an alert in Ops Genie, and this alert will in turn create a Jira Service Management issue. It can also update the status page. So status page is another tool by Atlassian. Also comes as an within the Atlassian stack. Whenever a system goes down with the Ops Genie integration, it can also update the status of that particular service. And it will, by doing that, your users don't have to constantly reach out to you. Hey, I have another issue with this. They can actually monitor the status of their services on status page. And then in turn, with all of this integration, the asset related to that particular service will also be updated with the status. And because of how assets work, it can also notify the stakeholders of particular services or assets automatically. So all of this is really cool. If only we have time. Unfortunately, we don't have time to demonstrate this in this webinar, but there's a separate webinar that we did, I believe, in the past, where we demonstrated the whole workflow end to end. Pretty cool. And then with this thing called analytics that comes out of the box, it's not out of the box, but you can actually subscribe to it additionally to the Atlassian stack. What analytics does is it gives you out of the box dashboards and reports for your JSM, JSW, Confluence metrics. All of this easy to do. And you don't have to figure out like really complicated data models or complicated like MDX formulas that you have to do with EasyBI. You still can define these formulas in analytics, but the out-of-the-box reporting is already good enough. And then we have a Beacon as well, and Compass. Compass gives you a one-stop DevOps status, metrics, and health view of your CI/CD process. So it encourages the ability to see the health of your development teams across both the number of issues raised for every release that is released to your customers, as well as the health of the pull requests, the merge, the build health, all of that with CI/CD. And then last but not least, let's not forget Beacon. So Beacon is now Atlassian Guard Premium. So Atlassian Guard Premium now comes with Atlassian Access and Beacon. Beacon is for intelligent threat detection. So it's going to highlight, like, for example, incidents where your users are searching for terms such as encryption vulnerability or exploit beyond a certain threshold in Confluence. Beacon is going to highlight that as a potential threat. Very cool. All within one platform. The benefits of doing this is reduce total cost of ownership. By consolidating, you'll find that certain functionalities may already exist in the main tool. So why pay more to maintain another tool when it's already there? So additional subscriptions, infrastructure costs, especially with on-premise applications, can be reduced significantly. And it's also important to consolidate, for example, if you have different Jira instances. This is one example where we have this story where we work with a local energy services provider here. What they have is a bunch of Jira instances located in different geographic location. What we did is we identified common apps that they use. And then what we did is we consolidated them, some of them into the same Jira instance, some of them are still in separate Jira instances. And this results in them paying 20% less in license costs annually. For example, if you have a script runner app in this instance and another script runner app in another instance, and they share the same user base, why don't you just combine that two Jira instances into one so you're not paying double for the same app? Some caveats to this, though, because of the app licensing model, sometimes you still have to pay for the top license user tier in Jira Confluence. So the way it works is if let's say you have 200 licensed user, and if you are only 5 of your users are using the app, you still have to pay for the 200 user license for that app, right? So there are ways to combat this. So if you are interested to find out more, we can help you with that. That's something that the solution architect, including myself, and our Center of Excellence offering, we can help you with that by looking at your use case. We can identify maybe the best way is not just consolidating, is to also reduce footprint, or if we look at your use case and we determine that turns out there's not many, the use case is very minimal with script runner, and we can change to JMWE instead, which is going to save you a lot of money. We can also suggest those kind of solutions. The other benefit is this seamless integration between ITSM development and business function. So I know some of you are from ESM. This is particularly useful for you. So with JSM, what we find is the ability for you to consolidate and to coordinate efforts, especially for activities such as user onboarding or offboarding. With JSM is really cool, especially if all of your teams, HR, legal, finance, are on the same JSM tool. So an example is if you raise an onboarding request, and if maybe legal needs to approve it, you can raise a separate legal issue automatically. We demonstrated this during one of the Services for All workshop in Teams. Was it Teams? Not Teams. Sorry, it was the Teams on the Road or something. And what we did was we are able to demonstrate that you can actually coordinate the IT onboarding as well from a single HR ticket. So a HR onboarding ticket gets raised, legal tickets gets raised. Once it's approved, it raises the IT asset request. And then once the asset request is completed, it automatically resolves the HR onboarding. For more on this, we will also do the Future of Work Services for All webinar next quarter. We will demonstrate that in detail. So by having all of that, we will have less vendor and solution partner relationships to manage. Imagine you don't have to interface with BMC, ServiceNow. You don't have to work with, even Oracle, just to accomplish the same requirement. You just have to interface with Atlassian, for example. So let's talk about how we can enhance user experience. So the collaboration between IT and engineering team is a very common use case, and you can see here an example. Your user is using the app, and one of the features is not working. The common scenario is they will then raise the request with ServiceNow, and then what happens is the support team, usually if the issue is very complex and it's related to a bug in the application, they might need to escalate that to engineering. In this case, then the support team member would then have to create a Jira issue in Jira software. So this is an additional tool that they have to be familiar with instead of just working within ServiceNow. And then your development team as well, if they require more info, they still have to log into ServiceNow and get that info or to communicate with a support. And yeah, these integrations can help with this by keeping data in sync. So for example, from ServiceNow, you can create a REST API automation to automatically add comments to Jira software tickets and then vice versa. But this is clunky, like I mentioned earlier, clunky and requires a lot of maintenance. So imagine if they are on Jira Service Management, Jira software. This is essentially the same exact app that they will be working from. So the user will be sending a request to Jira Service Management, and the support team can escalate to the Jira software project, and the engineering team can look at the same thing without having to log into a different system. At the same time, your Jira software users don't have to be a paying user in order to see the updates in Jira Service Management. So you're saving also on license costs. Pretty cool. If you have any questions on that, on the licensing cost, I know it's very fascinating. The fact that the licensing model for JSM and JSW is quite interesting. Feel free to ask me any questions if you have that. Otherwise, I'll proceed. So basic strategies to enhance user experience is usually I recommend my customers to have the sweet balance between security and user friendliness. By having too much security, by locking down all of your projects and conference spaces to specific teams, this is going to affect your tool consolidation experience. So despite tool consolidation, some customers still face some difficulties in enhancing their experience. And usually this is because of the way they set this up. So we can discuss this all day long, but I would highly recommend, if you have any questions on how to maintain that sweet balance, feel free to join our Governance on Cloud webinar. We have a bunch of that. And also we have an on-site workshop if you are interested. It will happen next week on 30th May. If you are in London, do let us know and we can sign you up to that. Okay, now let's talk about how consolidating your tools together can enhance your your data reporting. So with reporting, you can imagine in the past, if you have too many different tools, you have to understand how those tools work. For example, what is a project in Jira? What is an issue in Jira? And then what is a space? What is a page in Confluence? You need to extract all of that data, put them into your BI data models, and then present that to management. So mapping the data from different sources to aggregate that view is quite complicated because of that different concepts. So it's tough being a business analyst these days. So the alternative is to report through Atlassian Analytics, which I'm going to show shortly. So, but first up, I think it's good to reiterate on why reporting in ITSM is important. It gives you a clear understanding of how well you're doing through reports, through metrics such as NPS or CSAT. If you're not measuring NPS or CSAT right now, maybe I highly recommend that you look at that. I'm sure a lot of you are doing that already. NPS will also highlight how bad you're doing. That's something that could be a surprise to some that are only measuring CSAT right now. NPS can go negative. So some companies I've seen their NPS is like negative 50% or something. So it also shows you whether your user experience actually match to expectations based on the goals you already set. And it also gives you insight into bottlenecks and blind spots such as cumulative flow diagram in Jira or age in status is going to show you whether the issues are stuck in a particular status for too long a time. And it also improves on your IT service delivery with metrics such as MTTR, mean time to resolve, or mean time to acknowledge. And then it also gives you things like SLAs and SLOs. So In terms of data consolidation, I really prefer dashboards if you're looking at your ticketing queue versus the JSM queues. If you're using JSM right now, you may be using the queues functionality in your JSM projects, but I highly recommend that you build some queues within your dashboards. It's going to help your team look at a common metric, and they are going to be concentrating on achieving those together as a team. And there will be no contention as to, like, I've been looking at this. I only realized these have been assigned to me and I only work on my assigned tickets. By having them within the same dashboard is going to encourage them to work on achieving the same metrics together as a team. One of our medical services providers, one medical services customer here in the UK has these dashboards being projected across TV screens in their office to encourage the team member to passionately work towards a specific metric. Pretty cool. And all you need to do to build this is very easy with dashboards. If you're using JSM right now, I highly encourage after the webinar, play around with it, create some filters. Because with dashboards, all you need is, as the baseline, is a filter of the issues you want to see, and then you plug it into gadgets in the dashboards. I personally prefer the filter results gadget. It really is magical if you can put a few of that on a single dashboard. If you need some help with JQL, right now with AI though, if you enable Atlassian intelligence in your instance, you don't need that much JQL knowledge that much anymore. Pretty cool. So the other thing that is really cool is Atlassian Analytics. If you try this out right now, try a trial of Atlassian Analytics in your instance. If you already have JSM and JSW and Confluence, when you enable Atlassian Analytics, it's going to give you some out-of-the-box default dashboards that already works. And it's going to give you all of these really cool reporting. It gives you the holistic view of how work gets done across teams. Live analytics at your fingertips, not only point in time, but trends. And it allows you to collaborate with others directly on the dashboard by analyzing and sharing insights through comments. So you can actually comment on this directly. Very easy to use. And then you can play around with the formula, calculated measures as well. So the next poll, have you tried Atlassian Analytics yet? And if not, would you be interested to try? I'm going to launch that poll right now. All right, 71% of you said no, but will be interested to try. Very cool. And 29% have tried. Oh, that's amazing. Wow, very cool. All right, I'm interested to see if you have any questions on Atlassian Analytics at the end as well. So that's it for today's webinar. Feel free to put some questions into the Q&A and I'll be happy to answer them. But I hope this has been helpful and eye-opening. And let me know if you have any questions at all. Again, thanks for joining. And for those of you that are dropping off, have a great day ahead. And I hope to see you in the next webinar or the next workshop. Thank you very much.